All right, let's dive into one of the most important topics in the cloud, AWS Identity and Access Management, or IAM. Getting this right is the absolute bedrock of a secure AWS environment. So, let's get it demystified.
So, you've just fired up a new AWS account, or maybe you've had one for a while, but you're wondering if you've checked all the boxes. Well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to walk through a really simple 5-step journey to lock down your account and get you started on the right foot.
Here's our game plan. We'll start with the most critical piece of the puzzle, the master key to your account. Then we'll talk about how to give access to your team and your apps. We'll get into granting just the right amount of power, how to do this when you've got a ton of accounts, and finally, how to make security a day-to-day habit.
First up, and this is the big one, protecting the master key. This is all about your AWS account's root user. Think of it like the physical master key to an entire skyscraper. You definitely don't want that getting into the wrong hands.
So what exactly is this root user? Well, it's the original identity that's created the moment you open your account. And here's the crucial part. It has complete and unrestricted access. It can literally do anything and everything. And that's precisely why we need to lock it down and, honestly, almost never use it. So how do you protect it? It's actually pretty simple. There are 3 non-negotiable rules. First, enable multi-factor authentication, MFA, immediately, like right now. Second, and listen closely to this one, never, ever create long-term access keys for the root user. And third, for all your daily work, just create a separate admin user. Put the root user away for emergencies only. This really says it all. You've got to treat your root credentials with the highest level of care, the same way you'd guard your passport or your bank details. It's that important. Okay, so if we're not supposed to use the root user for everyday tasks, how do people and applications actually get their work done? Well, the answer is all about the magic of temporary credentials. You've basically got 2 groups that need access. Your human users, your developers, your admins, and your workloads, your applications. And if you look closely, you'll see a common thread here. The goal for both is to use temporary credentials. For people, we do this using something called federation, which is a fancy way of saying they log in with an identity they already have. For apps, we use IAM roles. The key takeaway? We want to avoid static, long-lived passwords and access keys like the plague. And this right here, this is the golden rule of modern access management. Make temporary credentials your default. This one single practice reduces your risk so dramatically because even if a credential gets leaked, it expires in a few minutes or hours. It's a game changer.
So we know how to grant access. The next big question is, how much access should we grant? And that brings us to a core philosophy in security, the principle of least privilege. You can think of it as the need-to-know basis, but for your cloud resources.
The definition is just beautifully simple, isn't it? Grant only the permissions somebody needs to do their job, and nothing more. This is so powerful because it minimizes the blast radius if something goes wrong, whether it's an accident or a real security breach. But how do you actually do this? It can feel a little daunting. The good news is it's a journey, not a destination. You can start with some of the broader pre-made policies from AWS. Then you use an amazing tool called IAM Access Analyzer, which actually watches what's being used and generates a super specific policy for you. From there, you just fine-tune it.
And AWS gives you a whole toolkit to help you on this path. Access Analyzer is going to be your best friend for generating and checking policies. You can also look at last access data to find and safely get rid of permissions that aren't even being used. And you can get even more granular with policy conditions to add extra layers of security.
So far, everything we've talked about has been focused on a single account. But what happens when your organization grows and you have dozens or even hundreds of accounts? You need a way to manage security from the top down, and that's where guardrails come in.
Yeah. As your company's footprint on AWS gets bigger, you'll almost certainly start using a service called AWS Organizations to manage all your accounts from one place. This is where you can set up those broad security rules that apply to everyone, ensuring you have a consistent and secure baseline everywhere. To put these guardrails in place, there are 2 main tools you need to know about: service control policies, or SCPs, and permissions boundaries. SCPs work across your entire organization, and they set the absolute maximum permissions anyone can have. They don't grant anything, they just say, you can't go past this line. Permissions boundaries, on the other hand, work inside a single account to help you safely delegate tasks without giving away too much power.
All right, we're on to our final section. Setting all this stuff up is fantastic, but it's not a one-and-done kind of deal.
Security is a continuous process. It's a cycle of reviewing, monitoring, and always improving.
So what does that look like day to day? Well, it means getting into the habit of regularly reviewing and cleaning up users and permissions that aren't needed anymore. It means running Access Analyzer to make sure you haven't accidentally opened something up to the public, and it means always keeping an eye out for any weird or unexpected activity.
And of course, AWS provides a whole toolkit for this too. You can use CloudWatch to get real-time alerts if anyone ever uses that root account. You've got GuardDuty for smart threat detection, and Security Hub to give you that big-picture dashboard of your overall security health.
So, there you have it. That's our 5-step journey. Let's just run through it one last time. First, secure your root user. Second, use temporary credentials whenever you can. Third, grant least privilege, just enough power and no more. Fourth, set up guardrails to scale your security. And finally, stay vigilant. Always be watching.
So I'll just leave you with this final question to think about for your own environment. When was the last time you actually took a look at who and what has access to your account? If it's been a while, now might be the perfect time for a quick checkup. Thanks for tuning in.